Hello, this is Bobby Cappuccio, co-founder of PTA Global, chatting to you from Rotterdam, Holland. I had a conversation with my friend and fellow co-founder Rodney Corn, and he asked me a question that I think is of critical importance to all of us at one point or another in our career, and that is, what do employers look for when hiring the right person? Now, I have consulted for nearly every health club chain in the world today, from teams of 2 to 2,000 trainers, and spoken to, developed, cultivated, collaborated with thousands of top fitness managers, general managers, executives around the world. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because the managers that really stand out in my mind around the world, and the ones that I respect, seem to look for three things. Now, are there only three things? No, there's a myriad of things that create your A-profile team player. But the three that stand out, no matter how they coin the phrase or how they can it, is gratitude, aptitude, and attitude. Let's start with the first one. Top employers, myself, I'm not saying I'm a top employer, but I agree with this, we look for someone who has unbridled passion and enthusiasm for what they do. That doesn't mean that that person imposes their passion or enthusiasm on the consumer or the client. It just means that they don't know the difference between where their play ends and their work begins, because let's be honest, especially in the beginning, working as a trainer is analogous to flying a 747. You've got to hold that throttle down, full stop, just to get off the ground. And even after you get off the ground, you're going to be working from 8 to faint every single day for a very long time. And discipline and hard work and dedication is not going to give you the capacity for creativity on demand, the same way that true deep-seated passion will. Number two is aptitude. I don't care what initials you have after your name. I don't care what your education plan is. I don't care if you are an MBA, PhD, MVP, STD. It doesn't matter to me. I'm more interested in what is your continuing education plan going forward. Philosopher Eric Hoffa said that the learner shall inherit the earth, where the learned shall be perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. And in an industry where every 24 months information is literally doubling, and our sacredly held truths a couple of years ago are incomplete at best today, doesn't matter what you know, what are you capable and willing to learn? In other words, how coachable are you? And the essential prerequisite is what's your attitude. And I say attitude, I'm not talking about you're a happy, positive, peppy type of person to be around. Those are great. Sometimes they're annoying in excess. I'm sure some of you can agree with that. I'm talking about what's your attitude to what you do in relation to how it makes the company you work for a cooler, more dynamic, different, and ultimately competitive place. There's a story that illustrates this. It goes back centuries ago when they were building this beautiful cathedral in Italy. And analogous to, I guess, our foreman today, there was an overseer, and he was walking around and doing his version of quality control. And he walks over to the first worker. It's a really, brutally hot day, and they've been out there for quite a while. Puts his hands on the shoulders of the man working, says, "Tell me a little about what you're doing." The man looks up and says, "Are you stupid? What am I doing? I'm cutting these big, bulky rocks into bricks to build this wall. It's tedious, it's back-breaking. I've been out in the hot sun all day, but my family's depending on me, so I'll do the best job I possibly can. Now, if you excuse me, some of us have real work to get back to." Well, that discouraged him a little bit. Wasn't expecting that. He backed away, quite rapidly, I might add. Goes over to another worker, taps him on the shoulder and says, "Tell me a bit about what you're doing." The guy looks up at him, bends down, and picks up this perfectly shaped brick. And he says, "I am sculpting the finest bricks in all of Italy, because I am the finest craftsman in all of Italy." Okay, like I said, it was kind of hot out, so maybe that guy's been out there a bit too long. And he was somewhat more encouraged. Went on to yet a third individual, tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Well, what are you doing?" And the man stands up and he drops his tools, and his eyes are just glistening. And he points to, at this point, what is nothing but a stacked pile of stones. And it says, can't you see, man? I'm building a magnificent cathedral in the service of my country and my God. Now, I've asked rooms of sometimes hundreds of managers, if you had to hire one, only room for one on your team, which one are you taking? The answer is obvious. It's the third one. Because he sees not only the nature of his work, but how his work contributes to the mission of the whole, the collective. He's able to see the forest through the trees. Now, where there's a point of contention sometimes, as I ask them, now these three people exist on your team already, you've got to let one go, who would you let go of? And there's a lot of arguments, because a lot of people say number one. Number one has a bad attitude. Number one's it's not pleasant to be around, and he's poison. I completely disagree. Listen to what number one said. Number one is willing to put in an honest day's work for an honest wage. No, he's not connected to the mission. Yes, he is a bit disgruntled, but before I sack number one, I take a look at his manager first, because that's where I suspect the problem lies. Here's the person who I'd let go of in an instant. I don't care if I need to let somebody go or not, and that's number two. I don't need the finest craftsman in all of Italy. I need someone who is going to collectively, not thinking his role is better, more superior, more essential, but sees how his role blends with every other role to create a magnificent cathedral. When I say attitude, that's what I mean. There are two types of people. An entrepreneur, which is what the economist J.B. Say said back in 1800, is an individual who can take resources from a low to a high economic yield. Those are important. And then there are people who don't have the proclivity for risk. They're not someone who's going to go start their own thing. They're an intrapreneur. They're people who work inside someone else's organization. And if they don't see, if we don't see, how our role is not most important, but critical to everybody else's role, and how we synergistically strive to meet the strategic initiatives of the company, we're not going to grow. We're not going to have much aptitude. And if it's all about us, and it's narcissism, not goal achievement, well, we're not going to have very much passion, because there's nothing bigger than we are driving that. So if you miss that one, you miss all three. If you get all three, being that most companies will pay more for payroll than anything else, you become an indispensable asset that's constantly appreciating, not depreciating on my team. Thank you.